Alrighty guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Hope everyone's doing absolutely fantastic. We're here with another week of tipping. I apologize for getting this video out so late in the week, but we're here nonetheless. So let's get straight into it, and let's first of all have a look at my tips from round 19. Alright, just before we actually look at my round 19 tips, I want to shout out my own tipping comp here. I haven't actually really done this much this year, and I keep forgetting to, so I apologize for that. 10 people in the tipping comp, so not massive by any stretch of the imagination, but shout out to Zero Wins here, who might actually be getting a win in this tipping comp here, and he's got a 5-tip lead at 117, so doing much better than me down here on 99. So yeah, looks like he might wrap that up there, and Coast Club down here at the bottom on 93 tips. Alright, so jumping into our round 19 tips, it was a very easy round. I think most of the results went towards the favorite. I obviously got 8 out of 9 here, so really not that great considering it was a pretty easy round, but some people seem to have done worse because I was still in the top 35%, so I guess that's okay. First off though, Western Bulldogs against Essendon. Maybe some people went to tip Essendon here. Bulldogs finally got a win. They had lost some close ones, so I guess if you're a Bulldogs fan, that's probably relieving to have finally gotten that. And for Essendon, probably a bit disappointing. Did think it was going to be closer than this. In the end, a pretty low scoring affair with the 32-point margin for the Western Bulldogs. And I was way off on that. I only thought it was going to be a 9-point margin was my tip. So quite wrong there. Next up, we had Richmond taking on Hawthorn. Very lucky to have won this, Richmond. And honestly, they really shouldn't have, because Hawthorn were better for 3/4 of that game. The experience of Richmond, though, just sort of allowed them to slack off a bit, and when it really mattered, they, I guess, put themselves into gear. Got the win there. Next up, Carlton against West Coast. Well, what can we really say about that? That's expected. Brisbane taking on the Geelong Cats at the Gabba. This was a pretty... It wasn't a great game to watch, actually. I watched only a little bit of this game. Very low scoring for the most part. I think it was, yeah, maybe 30-something points apiece to halftime. But, yeah, really disappointing here for, I guess, I don't know, is this disappointing for the Cats or even really Brisbane? I don't think both teams played really that good in this game. I know Brisbane were on top and really dominated the first half, and I don't think, yeah, Geelong didn't score in this first quarter, now I remember, and they played an okay fourth quarter, Geelong, and made the margin only 9 points when it probably should have been a lot more. So, or what was it, 11 points actually. So yeah, moving on, this is where I got my first tip wrong. Freo taking on the Swans. I thought at home, surely they would be good enough, and I've done this a couple times now this season. At home, it just doesn't matter this year for Freo. They're just bad regardless of where they play, and Sydney really aren't that good either, so to be beaten on your home deck by, what, 30-something points, 29 points, whatever it is here, just really disappointing for Fremantle, and they've had an absolute terrible year. So yeah, disappointing there, and that's why I only got 8 out of the 9. Next up, an absolute cracking game here. Best game of the round, probably best game of the year. I mean, this was probably the best top of the table clash in years, or the best I can remember personally. It was neck and neck the entire game. I think the biggest margin for either side was probably only around 15 or 16 points. Wow, just what a game this was. So many clutch moments and insane skill level from both teams. And Jamie Elliott, while winning the game for the Pies here, just amazing. Could talk about this game forever. If you're a Pies fan like myself, this game is going down as one to remember, and definitely I think one a lot of people are going to rewatch. But yeah, Jamie Elliott, what a wizard he is. Amazing there. And that puts us 2 games clear on the top 8, which should be a lock for the #1 spot now. So yeah, it looks like we'll probably be playing Melbourne in the finals week 1. All right, and then for the last 3 games of the round, we have the Giants beating the Gold Coast Suns. Melbourne, a close one in with Adelaide, but just got it done. And St Kilda just got it done against North Melbourne. Honestly, St Kilda have just been sliding in the recent months. They've just been terrible, getting the wins, but terrible. I don't know how they're in the top 8 still. It's just amazing. They're probably going to drop out. They've only just bet North twice this year, and West Coast just a few weeks ago. So they're just no good at the moment. But let's go on to round 20. All right, so I think it's going to be another fairly straightforward tipping for this round. Most of the favorites, I think, are going to win here, just having a quick look. But starting off here on the Friday night game that I will be going to, and hopefully vlogging. I will be vlogging, I hope. That's the plans. So, yeah, Friday night, Collingwood taking on Carlton. Should be a good game. I am obviously going to tip the Pies here. But who knows, this might just be one of those random upsets that Carlton sort of pull out of their hats. I'm going to say 22 points. Don't think it's going to be super close. Carlton, yeah, they've won 5 in a row, I think it is. But they've had average opposition for most of it, bar Port Adelaide. That was just a good win. Credit has to be given there against Port Adelaide. So can they keep it up? Can they bring it back and sort of keep that form for one of the better teams in the comp, being Collingwood, or the best, most people would say at the moment. So yeah, 22 points. Think it's going to be a cracking game. It always is in these rivalry matches. So yeah, moving on here. We've got Geelong taking on Freo. Geelong will get this done. I've been tipping Freo at home, so I certainly am not going to be tipping them at GMHBA Stadium away, even though they somehow won this game earlier in the year, which was just astounding. I don't know how they've done that, but they absolutely are not doing it this time. Geelong have been pretty good, I guess. They've not been really amazing this year. I don't think they've ever gotten, at any point this year, they haven't gotten to the level they were last year. So they probably will end up finishing around that 6th or 7th position, I would say. But they're definitely going to be penning in the 4 points against Freo here, who have just been absolutely just average. And they actually won the last 2 Freo. That's got to change this game, you'd think, surely. All right, next up here, I think this is actually going to be one of the better games of the round, although the odds don't really suggest it's going to be super close. The Western Bulldogs taking on the Giants at Mars Stadium in Ballarat. This has got to be a good one. The Western Bulldogs have 5-game streak here on the Giants. But the Giants, well, they've got a 5-game streak at the moment here, and they're playing very good before I lose my voice. Excuse me. So I think this is going to be close. They usually are close. You can see here, the last head-to-head, 15 points, 6 points, 20 points there. That was a bit of a blowout. And the one before that, pretty close. So I think this is going to be a good game. I do give Giants a genuine chance here. Will it be an upset for the rounds? I don't know. Maybe I'm feeling like I will tip the Giants here because why not? Will I? No, I'm probably not going to do that. I'm definitely not going to do that. We're going to stick with the Western Bulldogs. I'm taking it safe now. I'm not winning any competitions this year. My tipping overall has just been rubbish this year. So I'm going to keep it sort of safe for this round. So yeah, Western Bulldogs. Next up here in the Q Clash, this time at Heritage Bank Stadium. Though I don't think it's going to make any difference whatsoever because, well, the Gold Coast Suns just cannot beat the Brisbane Lions. So I'm going to be going... Oh, what have I done there? Jesus, close that. So yeah, the Brisbane Lions, they just cannot lose to the Gold Coast Suns. And I don't think it's going to change this time. So yeah, I'll be going Brisbane there. You'd really want to see something for the Suns because they just need to show something against the Brisbane Lions. It's really just been the same story against the Lions the last 5 or 6 years. So yeah, next up here, it actually surprised me how much the Swans are the favourites in this game because I already know I'm going to be tipping Essendon. I've thought about this for a little bit. I think at Marvel, surely they're good enough. Maybe this is stupid to think that they'd be good enough because they just lost at Marvel against the Western Bulldogs quite disappointingly. Yeah, I'll do it. Not confident in this one. And it is actually tipping an upset here, believe it or not. So yeah, I'll go the Essendon Bombers here. Don't think it's going to be a big win by any stretch of the imagination. And maybe this is just going to end up being a stupid tip because I know Essendon do have Jordan Ridley out. I'm not sure if they've got any other players out. Not really sure about the teams here, to be honest with you guys. But yeah, I'll just go Essendon. They've got to, if they want to have any chance at finals now, they have to win this game. I know they still play North and West Coast, I believe. So they've got 2 wins there. But they've got to get one against a team they're probably not expected to win now. Though earlier in the year, you probably would have expected them to win this. But Sydney, are they getting into some form? 2 wins in a row? I don't know. They've both been against teams that haven't been playing that great. So there's just so many teams that are hard to read this year. But yeah, look, I'll continue on going with Essendon. So yeah. All right, next up here, guys, we're going to have an absolute cracking showdown match. I hope to be watching this one. These showdown matches are just always so good. Adelaide, I think they've won the last 2 from memory, if I am correct here. No, they've won the last. They won the last one. They won that one. They lost the one before that, and then they won that iconic game after the siren run by Jordan Dawson. So they have been sort of going win for win recently, though Port have still won the 3 out of the 5. But I think this time Port will win it by, if I had to put a margin on it, I'll say 5 points. I think it's going to be close because Adelaide just never bowed down in these games, and neither will Port because it is a showdown match. Though there's a huge discrepancy here in the ladder, 13th coming up against 2nd. Surely Port Adelaide get it done here, and Adelaide have just been very disappointing in recent weeks. Though, as I said, these matches are always close, so I expect it to be. But yeah, I'll go Port by the 5 points. All right, another match here that I think is going to be an interesting one, and I think you got to give Hawthorn a genuine shot at this because they've been so good in a lot of the games recently without getting the win. They've been good, and they've been better in a lot of these games, say for 2 or 3 quarters, and then they've just sort of lost all momentum and just not been able to string a 4-quarter performance together, and that's typical of a young team like the Hawks. But in the same vein, St Kilda have just been so underwhelming, and I hate to tip them because they're actually so bad. I'm sorry, St Kilda fans. You've got to agree with me here. They've just not been good, and the wins they've got have been so unconvincing. They've only bet North and West Coast in their last month, and by a combined margin of, what is it, like 15 points against North and West Coast. So I don't know how I'm going to tip St Kilda here at Marvel Stadium. Is this finally a win that Hawthorn get? I mean, they did have a win recently. I don't know. This is probably stupid. I will go Hawthorn, but it won't surprise me if they do end up just having a decent performance for once here, St Kilda. So St Kilda fans are probably going to prove me wrong here. So yeah, next up, Richmond taking on Melbourne. I'm going to go Melbourne here. Do think they should win this one. Richmond, they've been okay, but I think they're probably out of the finals race for now. So yeah, they've been, I mean, they have won their last 3, but and they've had some good wins in there, like the one against Sydney, but just last week wasn't really convincing whatsoever. Melbourne should put it together, even though they've come off a win that just hasn't been that convincing either against Adelaide. As I said, so many teams that are hard to read here. But yeah, I'll go Melbourne. And then, well, lastly, I mean, this is probably the most cracking match of the round, you'd think. And I think at Optus Stadium, yeah, I'll go West Coast. Jeez, I'm going to tip the worst side in probably AFL VFL history to win a game and break their streak here. Jeez, don't know about that one. But yeah, we'll go West Coast Eagles at home is the only reason why. 50,000 Crow supporters, West Coast supporters. Get them up and about, surely. So yeah, guys, that is my tip. Submit that. Thank you all so much for watching. Sorry again for it being a late one in the week. Should have that vlog coming out as well later in the week. And yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Tipping comments down below if you still want to join. Drop a like, all that, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.